Hello, everyone. We are live with Tooth and Claw Podcast.
We'll do it live.
We have our bear biologist, Wes Larson.
Hey.
And we have our tech guy, Mike Smith.
What's up?
That's our guy.
And our bear tech guy, Jeff Larson.
Jeff. Big Jeff.
Big
BJ.
Jeff.
Big dog. That's what Tiger Woods would say to you.
You're a little bit lighter than last time we saw you, Jeff.
It's debatable. I got pumped with some air and stuff, too, so...
But you're missing part of your body.
But yeah, I'm not the same person. I don't have an appendix anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, things just keep happening, you know? I don't know.
And things do keep happening.
Pretty soon I won't have any body left.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe you could jump a little higher now that you're full of air?
Yeah.
A little floaty?
Is it like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory where you have to just like hold on to the side of the wall or else you float away? I have a reoccurring dream about that.
I don't know, but burping sucks.
Really?
Yeah, just my stomach hurts. But yeah, I just had really bad stomach pain, and I was like, you know what? I had surgery like 2 weeks ago, so I'm not going to have surgery again. And I tried to walk it off and ended up just laying in the fetal position on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Drove to the ER and then was like, no, I'm not doing it, and drove back home and then threw up a bunch and went to the ER, and they took my appendix out.
All right.
Yeah. Mere moments
Yeah.
away from death, right? It was about to detonate.
Mike, yeah, I could have died if it blew up. And Mike fought with my nurse.
Dude, oh man.
She was being sassy.
She was a
mean.
sassafras, yeah.
I was like, what I do, lady? I'm
Yeah,
just here.
Yeah.
I just am trying to exist.
Just giving them more money.
I appreciated it.
Do you always think of that Simpsons scene with the
Mike cleaned up
appendix?
my place a bit. That was nice. Yeah, I do. The
where he
pocket
cuts it
knife
out
episode.
and then he chucks it and it explodes. Yeah.
Mike cleaned up my place, but he threw away. I had 2 future bets on sports,
Uh-huh.
and he threw those away.
Oh, really?
And that was like $4,000 if they both win.
Mm.
So we had to find those. And then
I did that on purpose. I'm trying to get you to stop gambling. I think it's the devil's pastime, you know?
You call us degenerates when we
degenerates.
gamble.
I went on a little walk with Cindy Larson to the zoo yesterday.
Okay.
I had to go real slow, but
Yeah.
it was fun. It was a good time, you know? I'm back
Yeah.
to normal pretty much.
All right.
Just walking at the zoo.
That's great. I'm glad you're feeling okay.
I am impressed
You know?
impressed by it.
I'm sick
Sure.
of getting early morning texts that you're in the ER. It's like the
Yeah,
third one
I've
this
had
year.
a couple of those.
Well, Mike, time we take out an insurance policy on Jeff.
Yeah. Oh, that was a year ago, but yeah,
It
you're right.
mainly just hurts if I like move.
Yep.
Yeah.
Moving
Well,
is hard.
luckily, you historically have hated moving.
Yeah.
So this is going to work out well for you.
Just hire a moving service to help you.
Is that what those are for?
Yeah.
They just come over and move your body
Just
around?
like-
Yeah.
They just show up. They're like, wait, you want?
They'd probably be stoked. They'd be like, oh, we don't have to lift anything. We just get to like pump this guy's arms and stuff.
Try not to bang me on the walls. That's what people usually say to moving services.
Fragile.
Mike, anything new in your life? Anything worth reporting?
No, nothing to that. I mean, that's a category 8 out of 10 kind of thing. I have nothing even approaching that. So
Yeah.
let's
I'm
forgo
still-
anything that's going on with me.
I'm still just dealing with that American Robin. That's really my only struggle right now.
Yeah.
But it is quiet today. It woke me up this morning. It wakes me up every morning. But so far we've had like 2 hours of quiet, which I think is the longest stretch since it started, like over a week ago.
You think it's just trying to get laid?
Yeah, but I think it has some mental
Why don't
illness.
you just have sex with it?
or something. Yeah, I
Oh,
could just have
that's a good
sex
idea,
with
Wes.
it. That might work. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to kill it, but I would love it if it stopped. I go to Yellowstone tomorrow for a week, so hopefully when I'm back, it's done because I'm tired of it. We're pretty much dealing with the same kind of stuff, Jeff.
Yeah.
I've got a bird that's
No,
bothering
that's
me.
comparable.
You're almost dying, so
I was in such denial. I was like driving back from golfing and it started to hurt really bad. And I was planning on like getting a cheeseburger at Wendy's. I was like, no, my stomach doesn't hurt. I still like got it and just threw it up. And like, it's like, I wasn't going to like admit that there was something wrong because I was just like, I can't keep going to the ER.
I remember when
Yeah.
I had my appendix taken out like 6 years ago, I was laying in bed all night just suffering and sweating. And I was like, if I can just like sleep through the night, I'll be okay when I wake up in the morning. And I like passed out because of the pain for like 20 minutes. And I was like, see, I'm doing okay. I can sleep. It's all going to be okay.
That was my headspace.
Getting a cheeseburger from Wendy's isn't just like not accepting. It's like flat out
egging
pushing
it on
against it.
Yeah. It's like, let's see how bad I can get this to hurt.
Yep. Well,
no, it's dumb.
Well, it's our news episode. You know, it's been 5 or 6 weeks since our last one. There's been a lot of news. I feel like this time of year, often, you know, when people really start going outside in the US and recreating a lot more, there starts to be a lot more attacks in the news and animal incidents in the news.
Bears are waking up.
Bears are waking up. Coyotes are wiling. You know, there's a lot going on. So we have some good stories today. And maybe I'll go first. I got kind of a tragic one to start. It's a bear story. It's really our first American bear story of the year. So, but it's a pretty sad one. So I'm just going to get it out of the way.
You think you're better than us?
What's that?
You think you're better than us?
No. Why do you say
That's
that?
why you're going first.
No,
He always does.
I just was tired of talking about your appendix. It's just ready to go.
You think you're better than me?
I sure don't.
I think so too. You should go.
Okay. Well, Florida recently had its first official confirmed fatality from a bear attack on the morning of May 5th.
First ever.
Yeah, I say first ever confirmed. They didn't really start taking records in Florida until like 1970. So there probably have been fatal bear attacks in the past, but this is the first one on record that
they never had grizzly bears, right?
They don't have grizzly bears. Never had them. Yep, they have black bears. So a woman called 911 on the morning of May 5th when she looked out on her property in Jerome, Florida, and saw a black bear fighting and killing her grandpa's dog near his camper. In Jerome, Florida, I looked it up. It's a tiny little unincorporated town north of Everglades City. It is kind of in the middle of nowhere. I mean, this is like very dense Everglades type habitat, big cypress trees. It's a really cool place. So she looked out, she saw a bear fighting with this dog and killing it. She called 911. Sheriff's deputies arrived at the property not much later. The dog had been killed and the bear was nowhere to be found. So officials from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission also arrived. That's the Florida State Wildlife Agency. And they found evidence that the bear had killed the dog, which, you know, the other evidence was that this woman had seen that
There was
happen.
a witness. Yeah.
And that a bear had broken into this camper where her grandpa lived, an 89-year-old Robert Markle. Robert,
man.
Breaking and entering. Just racking those crimes up.
Robert wasn't in the camper, and they couldn't find him anywhere. So they started searching the premises. It wasn't long before they would find Robert or his remains about 100 yards from the camper in the dense woods. He'd been killed by the bear and partially consumed, or at least they thought he'd probably been killed by the bear. A search was launched. That night, 3 adult male bears would be killed by FWC. They weighed 207 pounds, 263 pounds, and 434 pounds. These are all full-size adult black bears. 434 pounds is a big bear.
Yeah.
There was one more bear in the area that they saw, but they couldn't catch it or kill it. And then when they tested these bears, the 263-pound bear had some of Markle's remains in its stomach.
There's some evidence.
Yeah, and then they tested DNA evidence from inside the camper and around the property, and it matched that 263-pound bear. So they're pretty sure that bear was the culprit.
So the huge one and the small, were they all male bears?
They were all males.
Male?
Yeah, because
Okay.
initially I heard this and I thought there was a really, one of them was significantly bigger and the other 2 were roughly the same size. I thought it was probably a female with adult cubs. But I think these were just 3 male bears. And again, this is really good bear habitat in Florida. So I think there's just a lot of bears in the area. So FWC remained in the area for most of the week to make sure they had gotten all of the bears responsible. But from what I could tell, they didn't kill any other bears. All 3 of the dead ones were tested for rabies. All 3 were negative. As far as I know, there hasn't been any investigation results shared with the public. So I think there are a few scenarios that could have happened here. The officials that responded didn't really release what they think happened, but here are 3 that I think are most likely. So the first one is that the dog antagonized the bear. Markle responded to this commotion, and it drew the attention of the bear. It defensively killed him and then opportunistically fed on him and maybe raided his camper for any food too, and then also killed the dog when it continued harassing it. So in my mind, I think that is probably the most likely scenario, but there's two others that aren't unlikely. The second one was that this bear was already food conditioned, like it had gotten into food, so it broke into the camper to try and get more food. Markle responded to this bear that was trying to break into his camper, was killed in the process. Once again, the bear opportunistically fed on him and killed the dog when it intervened. And then the third one that I think could have happened is that this was a predatory attack on Markle. Either while he was in his camper or near the camper, the bear attacked and killed him. The dog tried to intervene, and the bear killed the dog and then left the scene when other people arrived. So it could be any of those three.
How did it like break into his camper?
I don't know. There weren't a lot of details about that, but there's said that there's evidence that the bear had been inside of the camper.
Right. But it seems most likely that he like had the door open trying to get his dog. I don't know. I feel like it's hard for a bear just to walk into a camper that's doors closed.
I don't know. I don't think so. Not if it has windows and stuff or
like a really
doors.
big doggy door.
Yeah. I don't think it would be hard. Yeah. I think if the bear was determined enough, especially, I don't think that's a big jump. Yeah. I mean, there was that video like a year or two ago from Florida where there's that guy with his dogs on his porch and the bear just like busts through the door and grabs one of his dogs.
Kool-Aid Man style.
They can get into pretty much whatever they want. Yeah, just like the Kool-Aid Man. Yeah.
You think they can get into whatever they want?
Pretty much.
Mark Zuckerberg has like a huge bunker in his Hawaii property. You think a bear could get in there?
No, that's why I said pretty much whatever they want. Not everything. You're right.
I don't think they want to, though. That's the problem.
Bear-proof places, but
they could if they wanted to, I bet.
Yeah. They're pretty good at getting into things and finding weak spots.
I don't even know how they'd get to Hawaii in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think
a bear would have been really
example.
good on the rebel team in Star Wars to find the weakness of the Death Star. They would have been able to like figure out exactly what its weak spot was.
They wouldn't have even needed Galen Erso or whoever to tell them where the weak spot was.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a huge tragedy. Like a terrible unintended kind of consequence of this is that the Florida Wildlife Commission has been looking into maybe doing a bear hunt. And I do think the news from this will probably carry into like the public perception of whether or not that hunt should go forward. Usually when someone's been killed by a bear, it does create some negative feelings towards the animals. So I could see that being a nice push for them to get that hunt approved. I'm not arguing either way in like favor or against a hunt, but I don't like the idea of bears being shot personally. Like for a personal
sounds like you're arguing against
I just don't like. It's just my personal view, but like
sure,
sometimes they are an important management tool when populations are exploding.
I'll side with Wes and say I argue against it too.
Yeah. Do you think that initial response of killing those 3 bears, that just wasn't enough to satisfy the public, or?
No, this hunt was already like on the table, and there are plenty of people opposed to it too. I'm just saying this is bad timing for bears, but I looked, and Florida has, they estimate over 4,000 bears in the state, which isn't a ton for a state the size of Florida. And pretty much the whole state is bear habitat. So they have a good, like as far as the eastern US is concerned, they have a decent population of bears. But that the fact that like there's that many bears and this is the first fatality shows they really don't have that many conflicts, you know?
Yeah.
So
Florida is kind of like the appendix of the United States, if you think about it. It's just a little dangling.
Yeah.
I hope we don't have to remove it. Seems
it
like
feels
we might have
more
to.
Important than actual appendixes.
Yeah, that's true.
We might have to remove it. It is becoming toxic.
Problematic.
I love Florida, actually.
I love it too.
When I was looking up this, when I was looking up Jerome, like a real estate section came up and I got curious and I was like, oh, there's some cool places in Jerome. So anyway.
Well, it's a sad one.
Yeah,
it's real sad.
It is sad. 89, you know, it's a good, maybe that's better than going out, dying alone in your bed or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, he kind of did, though, die alone in his bed.
That's true. It's a bad way to die.
Yeah.
It's also
I guess he wasn't alone if you count the bear.
Yeah, and his dog.
And his dog.
Yeah.
Do you know what I think is really lucky? Sorry, Jeff, you can go. I keep interrupting you.
No, I'm going to try to... You can go.
Oh, well, Yeah, well, now that's going to sound extra stupid what I'm about to say. I was just going to say it's real lucky that all of our radioactive spiders, they're always biting humans and not bears. Like, it's real lucky that all of our superheroes are just humans who are looking out for us, you know? And
That's
not
true.
like a bear.
A
If
bear
that
would
got
just
Spider-Man
use
powers.
Spider powers to steal all our
Yeah,
food.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
No, I'm
Yeah.
glad. I'm glad I waited.
Okay. Whew. That would have been embarrassing if that didn't land.
Tooth and Claw is brought to you by Allermy. So in Salt Lake right now, the pollen is thick. Like, you can see it in the air. It's thick, and I'm getting allergies. It started a few years ago. I used to never get allergies, and now I get them bad every spring. And you know what? I'm kind of new to allergy medicine because, like I said, I didn't used to get them. I started out just taking like over-the-counter pills and stuff I didn't really like. Now that I'm trying Allermy, I absolutely love it. Having the spray is such a game changer. Don't spend another allergy season suffering. After completing a quick online consultation that's reviewed by Allermy's medical team, they'll formulate your unique spray. They'll send you a custom allergy kit with a moisturizing saline spray and your custom super spray, which I love for fast relief. I had to use it yesterday because sometimes it just kicks in and you need it quick, and the super spray is so like key for that. I love it. With a 95% patient satisfaction rate and over 12,000 5-star reviews, Allermy's nasal sprays have been effective for allergy sufferers across the country, and they can help you too. Upgrade your allergy relief with Allermy. Head to allermy.com, use code TOOTH at checkout for 60% off your order. Once again, that's allermy.com. Use promo code TOOTH for 60% off. Make sure you use our promo code TOOTH so that they know we sent you. My next story, it begs the question, is Florida the new Australia?
Oh.
Or
Okay.
the new India? Take your pick. But just one day later, a lady was killed by an alligator in Florida.
On May 6th?
Yes.
Oh.
So, on May 6th, Cynthia Decama of Davenport, Florida, was recovered from the water and declared dead. Her and her husband went out like canoeing on a lake. It's Lake Kissimmee. And yeah, they went like late afternoon, May 6th. And they're only in 2.5 feet deep water when, unknowing to them, they went right over an 11-foot alligator, which did not like that surprise and reacted to it.
In 2 feet of water.
Yeah,
11
2.5 feet.
water, right? Oh, no.
No,
Sorry.
11-foot
Okay.
alligator.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the size of a very small bus.
Sedan.
Size of an 11-foot ruler.
Bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That would be a good measurement system. How long of a ruler it is.
so they unknowingly go over this alligator. The alligator thrashes and tips the canoe over, and they both fall out into the water, which is like super scary, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure they probably had alligators on the mind. So then the husband like tries to protect his wife, but the alligator gets her pretty quick, takes her under. He had like no real opportunity to save her. And then, yeah, park officials get there, and it's pretty easy to put together what happened, and alligator killed her.
Man.
Did they get the alligator?
They killed 2 different 11-foot alligators, and it wasn't confirmed if it was the one.
Is the husband, did he get out unscathed, it sounds like?
It says it wasn't clear if he was injured or not, but I assume he's fine.
You said Kissimmee like an Italian guy asking
Kissimmee.
for affection.
Yeah.
Kissimmee. That sucks. That
Yeah.
you would think in that shallow of water in a kayak you'd be okay, you know? Why do you say it's like Australia? Just because they have lots of crocodile attacks?
Because people always say Australia is the most dangerous place for animals.
Yeah. We don't say that around here, though.
Well,
We
that's
know
why
the
I'm
truth.
saying maybe Florida's the new Australia, you know?
Yeah. I like your
That's what
India
people are
comparison better.
saying.
Yeah.
Many people
are
have
out there
said.
saying that. All right.
Shoot. Well, I'm not going to make things much lighter with my story. If I'm allowed to go, if you guys are done talking.
Go
Okay.
for it, Mike.
Let's go to South Carolina, not too far north of Florida, as some people are wont to say. So a couple of weeks ago, as of today, Today being, what's today? Like near the end of May 2025.
Today's the 27th as we're recording this of May.
So
yeah,
a couple weeks ago, 52-year-old Eric Slate died of multiple blunt force injuries, according to the chief deputy coroner of Horry County, South Carolina.
Should we guess what animal it is?
I want you to guess.
Multiple blunt force injuries.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess a cow.
Oh. Okay.
South Carolina?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess I don't have a guess.
Okay.
You're
You're not
passing out as we're talking.
Not much, against all odds, you're not that much more wrong than Wes, Jeff.
That's
because
crazy.
it was actually, we'll get to it. So obviously an investigation begins because there's
a death,
a dead man, blunt force injuries, et cetera, et cetera. There were no direct witnesses to what happened. So I guess we can't totally say for sure what caused this. But officials who responded, they found Eric's lifeless body inside an enclosure located at a children's petting zoo. So that opens the gates up to all kinds of different animals.
Children. It could have been children.
Could have been, children of the corn. Could have been.
Children were tired of us.
Lord of the Flies kids.
Children were tired of us petting them all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He drew that black spot and they stoned him to death.
So why this is an interesting case is because upon speaking to Eric's brother, Robert, they learned that obviously while this was a tragic development, it maybe wasn't entirely like the most unexpected thing to have happened because apparently Eric, he liked getting in the kangaroo enclosure and roughhousing with Jack, who was a male red kangaroo, which is really interesting because that seems like the kind of thing to me where it's like a party trick or you get in there to impress people that are like there watching and having fun. You're like, I'll go and but this guy was doing it by himself. He was just for the love of the game. He went in there were no witnesses and he was just fighting this kangaroo.
Yeah. Huh.
You think that means he grew up with a lot of brothers and he's just loved wrestling, or he didn't have any brothers and he felt just like the need to wrestle around with something?
We know he has at least one brother.
Yeah, they probably like to wrestle.
Right. So a tribute posted to Facebook on the following Monday by his brother Robert, it featured a series of photographs with Eric inside the enclosure, kind of like squaring up and fighting with the kangaroo. And it was just like a nice memorial post, like, we're going to miss you. You're loved. Jack, your buddy the kangaroo, he's going to be fine. But Robert, he's actually a little skeptical still about exactly what happened because they found his body. And while there were injuries, I guess you could say consistent with that of a wild animal attack, it was pretty tame, all things considered. So I don't know exactly what he's thinking, but he's thinking maybe there's another layer to this mystery. And we haven't, no developments since this happened has shed any more light on it. But he just thinks there would be more like, more violence and like his clothes would be in a worse state if this were actually like a wild animal attack that got him.
Yeah. Interesting. Huh.
But this leads me to just kind of kangaroos in general and their behavior as far as encounters with humans go. So I think we talked back in 2022 about that first person in forever who had died in an encounter with a kangaroo. It was like an older gentleman in Australia. It happened in 1936, and that was like the first recorded death of a human from a kangaroo since then, this Eric guy. But we have talked about kind of their strategy sometimes with when they get in a tussle with whether it's a dog or a human. What do they sometimes like to do, Wes? Do you remember? Kind of see what I'm trying to get at?
They lock up with their forearms. They grab on to whatever they're like trying to fight. And then sometimes they'll kick with their legs as they're locked up. And they that's kind of their main strategy.
Yeah.
That with dogs, they'll actually like, if they can get him in water, they'll try and hold him underwater.
Yeah. And that's actually, so another recent kangaroo attack happened just days ago at this point, like a week ago, where Don James, this happened in Australia. He found himself fighting for his life as a huge red kangaroo wrapped him up and held him down under the floodwaters near Port Macquarie, Australia. And an ecologist named Graham Coulson from the University of Melbourne, he went on to say exactly kind of what you're saying is if they can get their prey or their target to water, that's kind of their instincts kick in and they try to just hold that person or that animal under the water. Yeah, it's not bad.
They're saying Australia's the new Florida.
Really switched back pretty quick there. But anyway, I'll just wrap this up real quick. It was like a boxing match, and then Don got the worst end of a punch. The kangaroo was holding him under the water, and there were some onlookers kind of just like, what the heck is going on around here? But then thankfully a neighbor popped out or drove by, scared the kangaroo off. And Don, thankfully traumatized, he escaped with his life intact. But it's crazy because just months prior, he had also found himself fending off a great white shark attack. So he's really been through it the past couple months here.
Yeah, we got to keep our eye on him.
Yeah. The kangaroo held him underwater for the great white to get him.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
That's their strategy.
Do you think a kangaroo would try to hold the shark out of the water? That's probably their move, right?
Yeah. Kick
They
it.
had to fight the shark.
If they were fighting the shark.
I have to do another quick correction corner for
Okay.
the same one I did last episode.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So someone wrote in, and I guess wallaroos are an animal already.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
there's kangaroos, wallaroos, and wallabies.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm kind of mixed up where we're at on this whole thing.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Well,
It'd be
I
like
just
if
told
we had
you.
elk, deer, and moose, but we called one like deer, deerie, and deer
Kyla, who
or
came
something.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, come on.
Yeah, there's like too many types of those too,
Yeah.
you know?
So it started with you wanting there to be a wallaroo, not
Yeah,
realizing
right.
that there was one. Then there was one. And what was your first correction?
Last week I said that they call wallabies wallaroos,
It's
Oh.
but then wallaroos are actually their own animal. There's
Three
like
disparate animals. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. We just need to remember that if we ever make up a silly name for an Australian animal, that
That
name already
exists.
exists.
Yeah.
It's already there. All right. I got another
Thanks,
one.
Kyla.
Yeah, thanks, Kyla. This one's about a rattlesnake bite. If you were to guess what age is probably the worst age to be bit by a rattlesnake, what would your guess be?
1 minute.
Probably a newborn baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
1 minute old.
1 minute
Like
old.
when you
yeah.
came out.
This girl was pretty close to that. So earlier this month, Jacqueline Reed was enjoying some time outside with her 15-month-old daughter, Kara, so a year and 3 months old, when she got up for a second to throw away some trash. And she'd only been out of sight of her daughter for about 10 seconds when she heard little Kara scream in agony. She rushed back to her daughter to find her in a lot of pain. She immediately noticed 4 puncture wounds on her foot. How many fangs do rattlesnakes have?
2, right?
Yeah, so this girl had been bit twice by a rattlesnake. Jacqueline looked around and she saw a rattlesnake tucked under a propane tank a few feet away. She realized what had happened. So she rushed her daughter to the nearest hospital. They weren't quite prepared at that hospital to give her the care she needed, so she was airlifted to Phoenix Children's Hospital, where doctors began administering antivenom. In the meantime, Kara was struggling to breathe. She was vomiting, losing consciousness, and her foot was turning black. Again, like a 1-year-old kid, that's a lot of venom
Yeah.
and like a really small body for it to attack. So
The
I mean,
vomiting, though, it's like they vomit a lot anyways.
yeah, I'm pretty sure it
True.
was related
Yeah.
to the rattlesnake bite. She would spend days in the hospital. I couldn't get the exact amount, but it was a fair amount of time in the ICU with a breathing tube, slowly receiving antivenom because they didn't want to overwhelm her, tiny system. And just in those initial days, the family racked up over $200,000 in medical expenses. On their GoFundMe, the most recent update says that Kara is now recovering at home, but she still has a really long road ahead of her. I think of that YouTuber that we did a story on this winter who got bit by an eastern diamondback, and just how long his recovery was and how painful he said it was. And to imagine that happening to like a 15-month-old baby is just so hard to even wrap your mind around. So she has some surgeries scheduled. She's in pretty constant, terrible pain. There's still a chance they're going to have to consider amputation. It's hard to say how much, what rattlesnake venom does to a baby. Like, that's just, I don't think we have a ton of, I'm sure we have some evidence, but like, that's just a lot of venom for such a small body. It's hard to say what it's going to do to her overall development as she ages. But if people, this one definitely pulled at my heartstrings a bit. So if people do want to help this family, there is a GoFundMe set up for her. Her name is Kara Reed, Karareed, if you just want to Google it, or we'll put it in our episode notes just so you guys have access to it. But Kara, we wishing you a speedy recovery. Yeah.
I mean, I hope it's happy.
Yeah, and happy, sure.
If possible, yeah.
But yeah, what a nightmare. And
yeah,
it's probably pretty easy to villainize the snake because this seems like, but I imagine what happened is just she probably crawled over and tried to like handle it or grab it or got too close to it. And that's part of living in the desert.
Yeah,
there are rattlesnakes around.
I see this video on like social media sometimes where it's a bunch of like little babies and they put a bunch of huge pythons with them.
Yeah.
And like the babies aren't afraid of snakes at all. For some reason, like babies aren't afraid of snakes.
Yeah. Which is strange because like a lot of animals have that fear built into them. Like it's an instinctual fear.
It's a learned fear for humans then, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Anyway.
Right.
I would change my answer to like a week after they're born. Because if it's right when they come out, at least there's like doctors and stuff there.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's a good
Once
point.
they're out of the NICU, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime in the first couple years, I think is a pretty terrible time. Anytime's a bad time to get bit by a rattlesnake, but that's especially bad. She's a really cute baby, and the pictures are really sad. But the fact that she's at home recovering makes me think she has a chance of making it.
Hoping for the best. And shout out all the garbage men out there, honestly.
Yeah, why do you say that?
Well, it's happened when the mom had to go up and throw some trash away. And it's like the garbage men are helping us do that. Not leaving too many openings for these snakes to get at our babies.
Sure. That's a good point. Shout out.
I didn't put that together, but yeah, thanks, garbage men.
Big ups to the garbage men out there, dude. Public, man, I love those guys. I wanted to be one when I was little. I still might need to become one, honestly.
Yeah.
When Jeff dies, me and you are going to have to look into new employment. Yeah.
That'd be a great one. I'd be honored.
Life's been a little crazy lately. Surgeries, podcasting, bear stories. One thing that's helping me unwind is Cornbread Hemp CBD gummies. Have you been looking for a natural way to relieve aches and discomfort? The CBD gummies from Cornbread Hemp are formulated to work with your body, not against it. They only use the best part of the hemp plant, the flower, for the purest, most potent CBD. Formulated to help relieve discomfort, stress, and sleeplessness. Right now, Tooth and Claw listeners can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/tooth and use code TOOTH at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/tooth and use code TOOTH. Also, I just want to say, they just sent me their seltzers and I absolutely love them, so check those out too. Well, I got kind of a fun one.
All right, good.
Federal Way, Washington. So Donald Hale, he was like 50, 60-year-old man. It didn't say the age. I just watched a video of him, and I'll play part of it because he's great. But anyways, he credits his bearded dragon pet, Spike, for saving his life.
Ooh.
Yeah, so Mickey, thank you for sending this one in. But yeah, he says that it likely saved both of their lives on May 17th. When a fire broke out in his apartment. So he was laying on the couch and he had just run 13 miles. He got home and he took a bunch of melatonin and just wanted to pass out after his big run, right?
Sure.
So he's passed out on his couch. The fire alarms are going off and he is like, took a bunch of melatonin. So he's out. He's not paying attention.
Yeah,
or he's not like waking up.
13 miles.
Yeah, exactly. So then Spike always is hanging around on him, angles his tail and just starts whipping him in the face with his tail until he woke up. And he woke up and like saw the fire alarms are going off and went and like found the fire and is still like containable. So he went and got water and like put it out. But I want to share just 2 video clips of him too.
Right here laying on his couch because if my dragon don't wake me up, if he don't wake me up, I don't be here talking to y'all. When I opened the cabinet, from the pressure, the smoke came out, the fire came out. I bagged up. I went in there and grabbed something to put the water in and came back and put it out.
Now Hale is thanking God and his wordless companion.
I mean, he don't make no noise. He don't bark. He don't holler. But he made the loudest noise that day I ever heard in my life.
That's awesome.
That's pretty really cool, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I want to be friends with that guy.
You know what? I think I'm a little too harsh sometimes on reptiles as pets too. Because I always
I
say
didn't know
like,
that. Yeah.
well, I just say like they don't really give their owners much emotion.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
Yeah,
like
sure.
they don't care about their owners, but I don't know, maybe Spike cared about this guy, you know?
Yeah, how else could you
Yeah.
even interpret that if he was, I don't know, maybe it's just a weird coincidence that he just happened to be whipping him in the face and making sound like that, but
Yeah.
It just feels like it wasn't something that happens ever. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't. It sounds like it's like the first time Spike's really like woken him up.
Yeah. And it's not a coincidence that bearded dragons are like such popular reptile pets because they have like such a great temperament. They're really cute. And I do think like what Jeff was just talking about, I think of all like a lot of reptile pets, it does seem like they're one that
Kinda
people are
like
able
you.
to form some kind of emotional bond with, you know?
yeah.
So yeah, that's cool.
Favorite
They're-
Spike impromptu category? Who you got, Wes?
Oh, it's Buffy Spike.
Oh,
Without a doubt.
I'll take
Yeah.
Land Before Time.
Okay.
How
I'll
about
go
you,
with
Mike?
Spike Jones then. If I was thinking
Yeah.
Spike, but from before the land before the land of before. Two.
How have they not rebooted that movie yet, too?
I don't know.
Live
That's wild.
action.
Of all the movies they're rebooting, it seems crazy to me that Land Before Time hasn't
Yeah.
gotten one. We should jump
Before
on
the
it.
Land of Time.
Yeah.
It got like 20 sequels.
It really did have
Yeah.
some legs on that. Yeah. It's like Fast
That's
and
a
Furious is like
nostalgia
halfway
rate, though.
there.
Like,
you know?
I'd go see that one.
Guess I would too.
Yeah.
All right. I'll go next. I have a pretty fun one too. Really, the back half of this episode's a real spirit lifter, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, well, I'm not going to spoil this one again. I'm going to kind of keep it in my pocket for a little bit. So, for a few weeks now, there's a seaside Massachusetts town that's been plagued by broken car windshields and side mirrors. And a resident who lives there, Janelle Favaloro, was able to capture a photo of the culprit. And she was just having, you know how sometimes we like to have fun around here. She was having some fun around there. And she was on NBC's Today Show. And she described the culprit as 18 to 24 inches tall, wearing black and white with a red hat. Does that make you think of?
18 to 24 inches tall, wearing black and white with a red hat. Where is this?
Massachusetts? Coastal?
Massachusetts.
It's not a
Ah.
human. I'll tell you that
A
much.
seagull?
Getting close. Yeah, getting pretty close.
Some kind of bird.
Wearing a red hat.
Yeah. Think of maybe
Woodpecker.
a cartoon. Yeah, there you go, Jeff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So at first, the people in the neighborhood, they didn't really know what was going on. They just wander around, and every once in a while, they'd see a car mirror kind of like popped off the side of the car or a cracked windshield or something. But eventually, Janelle caught the perpetrator in the act, and it's since been identified as a pileated woodpecker.
Yeah.
And just like Woody the Woodpecker, if you can envision that in your brain, you'll be seeing what this
Yeah,
bird looks like.
They're our biggest North American woodpecker. Big, bright red crest.
Yeah.
Really beautiful bird.
And that was like, I was thinking to myself when I saw the headline, how much damage could a woodpecker actually do?
Heck.
And these things were like pretty big, a lot bigger than I was thinking they
Yeah.
could be.
When you see them fly by, they sometimes look like a crow or something. We have a fair amount in our neighborhood, and they're a big bird.
Well, so over the past few weeks, it's damaged more than 20 vehicles, including dozens of mirrors and at least one vehicle's side window and some windshields and stuff. And that's like pretty thick glass for these
Yeah,
woodpeckers to be
That's
getting through.
amazing.
Yeah. And I'm not sure, this might not mean anything to anyone else really, but I was really happy when I saw Ron McGill. Maybe Jeff, that name rings a bell. He pops up in the story. He was actually the wildlife consultant on the Levitard show for a long time.
Yeah.
He'd call in every week.
He's at like the Miami Zoo, right?
Yeah, and he's like a really fun, kind of a big personality proponent for wildlife, and he's a director at the Miami Zoo, and he was speculating that the woodpecker's behavior could be attributed to it being mating season,
Yeah.
and they do this like fun little dance, and they do like all kinds of pecking and calls that, you know, the famous, it doesn't sound like Woody the Woodpecker quite, but it's a pretty distinct call that they've got.
Yeah. We have a lot of we have 3 species that we see a lot of in our neighborhood, and they almost all of them, when it's mating season, they'll find kind of the loudest possible thing to peck on, and that's to draw in other mates and to establish territory and everything. So our flickers especially will do that on like metal roofs and stuff. So most woodpeckers, you assume that they're only pecking wood to like get at food or create a like a nest or whatever, but they also do it just to like create noise, which can be quite annoying.
I'd peck the button of a foghorn or something.
Yeah, that would be effective.
Yeah.
a symbol.
Yeah.
You think if one of those cars was your car, you would ever put that together?
No, I'd be like, that's a kid with a baseball bat.
I would have to see the bird doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like it's like obviously not a baseball bat, right? Because it's like
Probably. Yeah, true.
I would think someone was throwing rocks in the neighborhood or something, but I would never think it was a pileated woodpecker.
Anyway, so like Ron McGill, he was talking about it being mating season. And what do you see in the reflection of a mirror or a window than yourself? And they're thinking that maybe they're just thinking that their own reflection is another male bird competing for females. So they start like attacking it. But it's a little strange because apparently, and another senior biologist in the area, her name is Pamela Hunt. She said usually when they're fighting each other, they're not pecking each other. They're kind of like just, flapping around and kind of like more of like a wrestle kind of a thing than an actual peck or a stab.
Well, it's strange too, because if that were the case, we would see this all the time. True. Because there's lots of pileated woodpeckers. There's lots of reflective surfaces. So we'd see this everywhere they live. And this, it makes you wonder if this one maybe it's like my robin and it just has something up with it.
Well, Pamela, she speculated and said that this woodpecker might just be, quote, a little stupid. Is what she said. So
maybe it's like a Gollum Smeagol situation. Where it's like,
sometimes good.
It's gotten rid of its Gollum, but then when it sees its reflection, it talks to him all evil.
That could be it.
No, that's gotta be it. Anyway, that's the chronicles of the rogue woodpecker up in Massachusetts. Good luck, little guy. Hope you find a mate.
Yeah.
But don't stop doing what makes you happy. If you like attacking cars, the people in the community, they're pretty chill about it. They're kind of having fun and laughing with each other about it. Like, it would kind of suck to have your car vandalized, but at the same time, it's almost kind of a badge of pride to be one of the lucky few to have that animal interacting with you in that way, kind of.
All right. I got Coyotes Be Wildin'. You guys ready?
What? You stole my thing?
Oh, it's open to whoever, Jeff. You created it. It's your baby. But sometimes you got to hold your brother's baby,
Right. Now it takes a village to raise a baby.
All right. On May 16th, James Pulliam was enjoying a cigarette on his porch. We've all been there. It's a great place to smoke your nightly cigarette.
I haven't been on his porch. I don't even know who he is. I've never been there.
Smoked a nightly cigarette. But this is something he loved. Something he had done countless times before. That night, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Something was watching him. And his suspicions were confirmed when a coyote shot out of the nearby woods and charged at James. He yelled, he threw rocks at the coyote, but it kept coming, and then it jumped through the air at him, snarling and snapping at him. He caught it in the air and threw it down. And then he kind of tried to sidestep the coyote as it came at him again. It still isn't deterred, so he starts kicking it as hard as he can. But as he's doing this, he slips and he falls, and the coyote jumps on top of him.
Oh, no.
Whoa.
And when it jumps on him, it starts biting at him, and he puts his left hand out, bites his left hand really badly. And in this moment, he realizes, this coyote's trying to kill me, and I have to do whatever I can to stop it. And so he said, it was either me or him. So he rips his left hand out of its mouth, grabs it by the throat, and strangles it to death for 10 minutes.
No way.
Jeez.
Yeah. He said he went for 10 minutes just to be sure that it was dead.
Yeah.
And I saw photos. This is a decent-sized coyote. They can get pretty big out east. He went to the hospital, and they had to do some work on his hand. And a really unfortunate part of this story is he had just started a job in the food industry, and from reading about this, he was kind of starting to get back on his feet financially, and this really set him back both with his medical bills and with the loss of work and everything. So this is another one where there is a GoFundMe, another one where I want to link it. I know with the baby that we talked about, the rattlesnake, it's seen a lot of attention, and it seems like there's been a lot of donations to that. I'm not trying to discourage people. We should all, if we can, help. This guy's
chipping into both.
Yeah, this guy's hasn't gone very far. So I would love to show him a little tooth and claw love, help him get back on his feet. And
how do you think he titled it? I strangled a coyote. Please help.
Let's see. I will
please donate.
Help me recover. Oh yeah, and there's an important detail in the thing here. Help me recover after surviving a rabid coyote attack. This coyote did test positive for rabies, so he had to get rabies shots,
That's
which
expensive.
are not cheap. Yeah. And he said they almost hurt worse than the coyote, which, again, there. And I want people, this is like a good time to interject with another kind of lesson for people, that the rabies vaccine, which you can get if you're living in a place where you have a high incidence of rabies, or maybe you're working with animals that could potentially give you rabies, the vaccine is a lot cheaper than the like the shots you have to get if you've already been bit by an animal.
But don't you still need those shots if you get bit, even if you have the vaccine?
No, not necessarily.
I thought you still have to get shots no matter what if you get bit by something with rabies.
That might be true, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it's cheaper to get the vaccine.
And it makes it, in the story, like, already is he had every right to defend himself and kill the coyote. Yeah. But now it's like he saved other coyotes, because like, had that coyote ran off, they probably would have killed a few coyotes once they realized that he had rabies.
Well,
yeah, it could.
That's a way to think about it.
Yeah. It could have attacked someone else too.
Yeah.
So James, we hope you recover. And again, we'll put that GoFundMe link in the show notes.
10 minutes is a good amount of time, because there was that one story about the rattlesnake who died, and then 10 minutes later, even its head was cut off and it bit. That coyote could have really still done some damage
than coyotes. Yeah. It's interesting in movies how, like, when someone gets strangled, they die really quick. But that kind of happens in real life, right? Like, strangulation can actually kill someone like pretty quickly, I think.
I'm not sure. I've never tried it.
Yeah, neither have I.
It's less an oxygen thing and more a blood flow thing, I know.
Yeah. That's a terrible way to kill something, but I don't blame him for doing it to this coyote.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This episode is brought to you by Element. This summer, stay hydrated without the sugar, food dye, and other dodgy ingredients that you find in all those other popular electrolyte and sports drinks. Electrolytes are important to have. If you're at an electrolyte deficiency or imbalance, it can cause headaches, cramps, fatigue, brain fog, and weakness. And you really can feel the difference when you get it right. Element is a zero-sugar electrolyte drink mix and sparkling electrolyte drink born from the growing body of research revealing that optimal health outcomes occur at sodium levels 2 to 3 times government recommendations. So a lot of us, we think we're getting enough electrolytes, enough salt in our system. We're really not. Some of us might not even be close. But if you got Element in your body, you're going to be doing great. And you don't just have to take our word for it. So professional athletes everywhere are taking them. Special forces in the military, Navy SEALs, FBI sniper teams, Marines, they all use Element. And now they've got a new flavor on offer that I've been having a pretty great time with. Lemonade salt. It's just the perfect drink for a sweaty, hot summer day, whether I'm just out on a walk, whatever the case is, I'm getting those electrolytes coursing through my body. But you gotta be quick, because this lemonade salt stuff, it's available only for a limited time, so get yours while the supplies last. As always, if you use our link, drinklmnt.com/tooth, you're gonna get a free Element sample pack with any order, for yourself or if you want to share with a friend. And there's a no questions asked refund policy. So try Element, it's totally risk-free. If you don't like it, give it away to a salty friend. We'll give you your money back. No questions asked. Again, that's drinklmnt.com/tooth. Give it a try. We think you're really going to love it.
All right. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, I'll do 2 quick, like, headline ones. So this one's a year ago, but it popped up because there's a revision to the article, but I just want to share it.
All right. Yeah.
So Australia, a Queensland woman was bitten in her bed by the world's second most venomous snake. What is it, Wes?
Second most venomous snake? Eastern brown?
Yeah, Eastern brown. So she's in her 20s and she's just laying in bed, and an Eastern brown bit her on the hand. Like, woke her up. And I just feel like that'd be so scary to, like, wake up and, like, see the second most venomous snake in the world just had bit you.
Yeah. So, it probably had, like, crawled into her bed because it thought it was a safe place, and then she, like, rolled over and disturbed it. So it
said it probably went in during the day because it's so hot out.
Yeah.
And then, she's just in bed with it unknowingly. Yeah. But it's just a scary thought.
Yeah,
you know?
It is scary.
It's like the last safe bastion that you kind of take refuge in when you're scared. You, like, hide under your covers. And if that's not going to be a safe place, where is, you know?
And she had to get, like, airlifted from Western Downs to Brisbane, but she was able to get help and she lived.
Yeah.
And then
good.
Just one that I got right before we started recording that I want to at least shout out, I feel like, is there's a show, I think it's probably like TLC I should have looked up what station it's on. But there's that show that 1,000-Pound Sisters is what it's called. And one of them was bitten by a camel at a drive-through zoo while feeding them.
Really?
Whoa,
And
no.
yeah, and it became like a big thing because they videoed it and there was like child endangerment stuff, and she got her kid taken away for a bit because they were having camels just stick their head in their car.
I'll have to tell Jessie about that one because she is usually very up to date on what those two sisters are up to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So wait, the sister who got bit had her child taken away, or like the drive-through zoo got in trouble? Because that seems a little strange.
No, the lady who got bit got her kid, she got child endangerment charges.
Interesting. Because that seems more of like the zoo's problem more so.
I
knows
think
what they
they
were
were
doing
breaking the rules probably.
Yeah,
a bit.
probably.
But who knows what that camel is probably a little confused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From all of our episodes.
That's a big lady.
Yeah.
It's probably like
From all of our episodes, I think like the one that has changed my perception of an animal the most is camels.
For sure.
When
Their
we learned they
jaws
could
are
like
insane.
bite people's heads off and stuff.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have any more? Because I had one more quick one.
I do have,
go
I
for
could
it.
get through this one pretty quick.
No,
this last
go
one.
for it. Yeah.
And it is a quick one, but it's, I'm glad. Good things seem like they were happening in those stories, Jeff. Or bad. I don't know. I wasn't really listening. My last one, what did happen? What was the first one?
Brown
The lady
snake
lived.
bit a lady.
Yeah. She, in her bed.
Neither of them were
Having
good.
anything good happen.
No, but
Yeah.
she lived, and I'm happy about that. I just want to express that. So, my last story for this month is a story that happened out of Australia. And there's a Chinese woman named Mangyan Zhang who's swimming about 30 feet away from the shore at Gunya Beach in Bundeena, Australia. And she felt a slight stinging sensation on her leg. And at first, she thought it was just kind of like something small, not very serious. But she got an eerie feeling when she felt something large pass by. She's like, that's probably more than just like a jellyfish, And that's when she told 60 Minutes that she started seeing blood, and the water around her became increasingly more and more red, and she began to realize just how much trouble she was in. Realizing that she'd been bitten by a shark, she froze, hoping that it wouldn't come back to her if she remained still. But after a moment of kind of calibrating and monitoring the situation, she began screaming for help, which is when the second character of the story hops into action. So Blake
Hops?
Donaldson, he was
kangaroo?
hopping. Right, they're in Australia, he was hopping. So Blake Donaldson and his partner, Ellen, they were the only other people at the beach at the time. And so he knew that he needed either to get involved or they were just going to sit there on the shore watching this woman bleed out and die. So he said he didn't hesitate for even a moment, which I'm not saying I don't believe him, but I'm also going to say that that's something I would say about myself if I were the only person around to, kind of...
You think you would have hesitated a moment?
I mean, like a moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very briefly. I like to think I would have gotten in the water, but this guy didn't. He went immediately, sprinted in, pulled Mangyan Zhang, pulled her back to safety onto the beach. And that's when Blake's partner, Ellen, started administering CPR. And she started hallucinating, started seeing these crazy colors in her brain. And then she slowly drifted out of consciousness, but not before she started hearing responders talking about how her blood levels were dangerously low. And this is like a very critical situation, which is like not the last thing you want to hear in this kind of thing when you're, drifting off to sleep.
Out.
The next thing she knew, she woke up after the surgery, pleasantly surprised she was actually still alive. And she actually met up with Blake and Ellen a little while after the incident and thanked them for saving her leg and her life. And she was like, words can't even express to you how grateful I am, how thankful you saved my leg, you saved my life, which is a great place to be in if you're Blake, I would think. Like, if someone literally owes you their life, you can guilt them into doing so much for you.
Yeah.
It's true.
You could
Like
scam
anything.
them for
Yeah.
any of those like pyramid schemes. You could get them as like the first person to sign up.
Right. I think even in that scenario, if someone saved my life, I would still just like,
Block.
no, nope, you're out of my life now.
Do you know what kind of shark it was?
It was a bull shark,
Okay.
reportedly, but
Yeah.
no one was super confident since
Yeah.
she was the only one that even got like a passing glance, but
Okay.
that's what it was saying in the article.
I had a really quick shark one as well, and I just kind of thought it was an interesting one because it involves a British woman, and we've talked about this a lot, they don't have that many animals they interact with, so I think they tend to take these things a little roughly. She was paddling in hip-high water in Rose Hall Beach in Montego Bay, Jamaica, when a shark bit her left hand, and she noticed her ring finger was hanging off her bleeding hand, and she thought she was going to die as she looked at her ring finger hanging off her hand. And which you probably won't, just so everyone knows. If you lose your finger, you're probably not going to die. But she went to shore, and an unfortunate thing is the local hospital said they were going to charge her $2,000 to even start working on her. And then they told her that they were going to charge her $25,000 for surgery. So she actually got transferred to a public hospital and then flown to Ireland where her parents live. And that's where she had most of her treatment done. It sounds like probably they were able to reattach her finger and she's going to be okay. I think it was a little reef shark. I shouldn't say little reef shark. It was a reef shark. But yeah, that's not a fun thing.
Got
also
her finger.
Not life-threatening though.
Charlie got
No.
your
Yeah.
finger.
Charlie got it.
Charlie bit your finger.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got.
I saw a British TikTok girl who wanted to visit America but was too afraid to because of bears.
Yeah, that's a common thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's less rational fears or more
There
rational.
are.
I don't know what I'm trying to say there, actually.
I've learned as I've traveled and met other biologists in other countries that people are always they're always much more concerned about animals that they're not familiar with than with their own. My friend in South Africa, lions, he just didn't even consider them much of a threat. But when I told him about climbing in black bear dens, he just thought it was suicidal. So yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, should we do our categories?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, one thing I actually wanted to talk, or maybe more ask is the right word, Wes. In my last story about the shark, those teeth, is it just because those teeth are so fine that you can't, sometimes don't even realize how much damage has been done?
Yeah. I mean, they're I think, sharp would be the word. Fine. They have big teeth, but they are incredibly sharp. And that's a common thing that people report is a feeling of pressure, but not necessarily of pain when they're bitten by a shark, because they just have a surgical cut to them almost. And then also in a lot of our stories, we've just learned it takes nerves a while to respond. And then also that adrenaline kicks in, which kind of pushes back some of that pain response too. So I think that's mostly it. Yeah, those two things combined.
This episode is brought to you by Rocket Money. So by now, everyone's heard us talk about Rocket Money. We love it. We wholeheartedly recommend it. It's helped us all out, especially on the subscriptions. Helps you get out of those tricky subscriptions really easily, just a click of a button. Rocket Money helps you save money by getting out of those subscriptions headache-free. But one thing that I've learned to love, maybe even more than that subscription part of the service from Rocket Money, is that it actually was able to help me start my own budget, something that I had never really done. And it helped me track all of my spending habits, all my finances. And it was really surprising to see my spending habits when I really thought I had everything under control. I always thought that I was a pretty frugal person, and it really started to highlight these different areas where I was starting to let things get away from me a little bit. And that's just the thing. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. You see all of your subscriptions in one place, you know exactly where all your money is going, and for the ones that you don't want anymore, Rocket Money will help you cancel them. And like I was talking about, Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of all your expenses across all of your accounts, all in just one single place. It's really just an awesome financial tool. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when they use all of the app's premium features. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Download the Rocket Money app and enter our show name, Tooth and Claw, True Stories of Animal Attacks, in the survey so they know that we sent you. Don't wait. Download the Rocket Money app today and tell them you heard about them from our show.
All right. Get into
Surgical.
categories.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Something that you've watched recently that you don't recommend people.
I want to go first because I think you're going to steal mine, Wes. It's Death of a Unicorn.
No, but
Holy
I do
moly.
agree
That was
with
a bad flick. Sorry to anyone out there who enjoyed it. I like plenty of I just showed Wes a picture. I'm getting a 4K disc of Sky Captain sent to me, and I love that movie. I know most people don't. But my Sky Captain seems to be a lot of other people's Death of a Unicorn, and I found that movie to be almost on every level abhorrent. I couldn't almost barely reach the end.
I didn't care for it either. And I didn't care for the comparisons to Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
But,
I found that offensive, if I'm being
'cause
quite
I
honest.
saw it in a lot of the reviews.
Anyone
But
you want to shout out in particular?
No. But I don't.
Sounds personal. But
It's not personal, and I
A
don't
couple
blame.
people messaged me, like DM'd me on Discord, and they're like, "I can't believe you didn't like that." And I was like, "This is the thing. Most people seem to really like this movie."
That's what I was
So it's
about
a
to
meme.
say. I think there's plenty of people out there that really like that one, and I don't blame them. Like, it's got a talented cast. It's got like all the pieces. I think though, for me, it just was like too slapsticky and it just didn't do it for me at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys
No,
just
that's not
want
what
more of the Marvel movies.
yeah,
That's
all
not what I
want
want either.
That's
No.
just kicking
I
Disney's
could've
door
done-
down.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna pick another one that's maybe slightly controversial. The Last of Us season 2.
Spoiler warning alert. Spoiler warning alert. Spoiler warning alert. Spoiler warning.
I really enjoyed season 1. I think it's because Pedro Pascal really carries that show. And spoiler alert, he's not in season 2 nearly as much. And I just haven't found it that engaging. I think the performances have been annoying. I just haven't been able to enjoy it. Like the last episode that I watched, which isn't the finale, it was the one right before the finale. I was like skipping through it because I was so annoyed by it. So
Sounds like it follows the video game pretty well then.
yeah,
Didn't everyone love the first one and hate the second one?
I
The
think
second
so.
one's definitely divisive. I mean, I think objectively it is a great game. I never played it, but a lot of people really, really, really hated that game for good or bad reasons. I couldn't tell you why.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a lot, but for me, like the threat of zombies is never enough to carry a show. And I know the people in this show are like the true villains, and that's how they always do zombie shows. But I just can't get into it anymore. I'm just like, again, I don't think the performances are very good. I just don't really care for it. So I think I'm done with that show.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the show You, because I actually shouted it out as a show to watch a little bit ago. And then I watched season 5 and I absolutely hated it. I thought it was like written so bad. And I shouldn't have shouted that out before watching it.
Okay.
But I really like seasons 1 through 3 especially. I thought 4 was kind of fun. And 5, I thought they got way too cute with it and didn't really add up or make any sense.
Yeah.
And I don't think like it stuck true to the characters very well. You know, I feel like Joe should have got away. He's the good guy the whole time.
Yeah, what's this show about? I don't know anything
I'm just
about.
kidding.
You?
It's like some guy who reads books
like a
and
stalker.
he's like, he like develops in his mind that like this is his dream girl, and then he'll put him in a cage, and then he'll.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds.
And
fun.
sometimes he like gets them, but then they realize he's like been this total psychopath the whole time. It's the same thing every season, but I'll agree with Jeff. Some of the seasons were pretty fun. I'm not even trying. I hated season 4, so I'm not even trying season 5. But yeah.
Do you know what I'm having a real hard time with is Andor season 2.
Really?
I'm only 4 episodes in, so like I'm reserving
Yeah.
judgment, and I know it ends really strong. The first 4 episodes have been really, really, really not fun to me.
Huh.
Really
Have
not
you been
fun.
have you been like pretty locked in, like focused on it?
Yeah, like pretty. I'm a no phone kind of watcher, dude.
Because season 1, when I first watched it, I was like, yeah, I get why people love this, but it didn't really do it for me because I wasn't like really focused.
Yeah,
When I rewatched it, I was just like, man, this is a masterpiece. Like, this is such a good. I will say I liked season 1 more than season 2.
Okay.
But I thought season 2 was great.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I loved season 1. I really, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It's weird. That's weird. I'm not done with it though, so
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
still got
passing
5
judgment yet.
episodes or whatever. So
Right.
Okay. All right.
All right.
What's
Yeah.
next, Jarf?
We make everyone mad there,
Yeah.
Sorry.
shitting on their favorite things.
Yeah, we attacked some major shows there.
Yeah.
All right. Because of the brown snake biting the girl's hand and how scary that'd be to wake up to. Scariest like in bed scene you can think of.
Can I go first?
Yeah.
For me, it's Poltergeist. The original Poltergeist. Directed by Toby Hooper. Story by
Was
Steven
it?
Spielberg. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Um,
rumor, is that Spielberg was actually the director. But I
When
think
you-
that's a little insulting.
When you see the camera movement, it feels like a Spielberg movie, and that's why I love this scene so much. It's kind of after the first bout of craziness has happened in the house, and the family is settling down to go to sleep, and you see the little boy in his room, and there's a clown, like big gross clown doll sitting on his chair, and he like casually tries to kind of throw a thing over it. It doesn't work. And then he lays down to go to sleep, and he hears a thud, and he looks over. Clown isn't there anymore. And I think this was like a genius thing that they would ruin in a current horror movie, is that when he looks at the chair, there's no like really loud music. When you see that the clown's not there anymore, it's just totally quiet. And it really adds to how that would feel if you're a kid, that the scariest thing in your room is moved. And so then he pulls up the covers of like underneath his bed, and the camera like follows him perfectly. And then as he like goes back up, the clown's behind him and grabs him. And it's such a good jump scare and such a perfect scene. And they don't have to make it super dark to where you can't see anything. There's no jump scares before like one is necessary. It's masterful. I think it's an amazing scene. It's definitely my favorite bed scare scene.
I think like a clown doll in a child's bedroom is grounds for like a call to CPS these days. It's like, don't
Like
put that
sitting
in
there watching him sleep,
yeah.
like perfectly positioned. Yeah.
Ugh.
In a house that you know is haunted by ghosts.
Yeah, it's a tough one. So I'm going to
Yeah.
go with the original Grudge, Japanese movie, Ju-on.
Yeah.
She's watching in bed, she's watching TV, and it starts to like get all warped and distorted. There's a freeze frame on the weird face of the reporter or whatever. And then she lifts up the covers, and it's creepy. I don't want to spoil exactly what's all going on down in there, but it really catches you off guard. And again, it's kind of like just a violation of what should be your safest, most comfortable space. And it's no longer that. So that one got me pretty good.
Oh man, both of mine are still here, so I'm gonna shout them both out. But
Yeah.
Misery, like it's kind of the whole like
Good
half
pick.
of the movie. One of you
Yeah.
guys haven't seen that, right?
No, I've seen it.
Yeah. I've
Mike,
seen
you've
it.
seen it?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. And then the other one would be just Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, Johnny Depp's death, where
I
he
almost
just
picked
gets
that
like
one. Yeah.
a milkshake blender to his body pretty much in the bed.
Pretty fun. Dude, the scene in Misery is the ankle scene, I'll just say. That's maybe my least favorite scene ever, because it's
so
not
hard
like
to watch.
supernatural. It's not crazy. It's a thing that could just actually happen to you, and it shows it so brutally. Ugh.
Yeah, him begging and just like it not.
He should have wrote his book better, though.
He should have done a
he
better
did do a
job.
bad job. Yeah. That's a
All
good
right.
point.
The Switch
Jessica,
2
the
is
devil's advocate.
the Switch 2 is coming out. So I was just wondering what the most excited for a video game console release you've ever been.
I'll go.
For me, yeah.
So, leading up to the PlayStation 2 release, we heard everything about how it was going to be able to play DVDs, and we didn't have a DVD player. And there was the new snowboarding game, SSX, was coming out. A new Tekken tag tournament, that game was coming out. Like a bunch of stuff that was on my radar, but the console wasn't out quite yet. And so when we got it on Christmas, my dad did a smart thing where he put like a DVD for each of us kids in our stockings. And we always open our stockings first. And we're like, oh, we're getting DVDs, so we know what else is coming from under the tree, you know? So just like a really fun build up and anticipation towards that. Plus it was like backwards compatible. You could play all your old PlayStation 1 games on it. And that was just like,
You never said the actual console, I don't think.
Did I not?
PlayStation 2. at the
PlayStation
beginning.
2. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry if I didn't, then that's a bad move on my part. I'll issue a correction corner next episode.
I think for me, it'd be the Wii. I just like couldn't believe I had access to that technology, and that like I was playing that indoors with those remotes. I thought the Wii was so cool.
I slept in a line for the Wii.
Did you?
Yeah, like we
Whoa.
took tents and like, but it was me and some friends, and we bought extras too to like resale. It didn't really
Scalper.
work very
You
well.
dirty dog.
I only bought like one extra. I couldn't afford more than one.
Mm.
But yeah, the Wii. You know what? That honestly could be it for me. But I'm gonna say Nintendo 64. I feel like for my life, that was like the biggest jump forward in what it seemed like consoles could do, and it just playing GoldenEye and the Mario Kart version of that and Super Smash Brothers. it just felt like things had progressed to an unreal level. I actually remember being on, like, I remember where I was driving with my dad when I told him there's just no way video games are ever going to get better than this. Like,
Yeah.
they're already like so good. There's no way they can do better.
Yeah.
And he just kind of laughed and he's like, I'm sure they're going to improve on this. But yeah. And he was
the whole
right.
thing where like we look at Lara Croft and her breasts were like 3 polygons each. And we're like, oh my gosh, that is so hot. We had no idea what was coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Those were the days, you know? Those were some
yeah, they were the halcyon days.
true yearning.
Who's the girl
Yeah.
with the butt you like, Mike?
Oh, Eve from Stellar Blade. Oh man, it's coming out on PC soon. Listen, call me a gooner, call me what you will. That game is sick. It's a great game, and I'll go to my grave defending it. It's a little over-sexualized, but that's just to get people in the door, you know?
Yeah. It's a good door.
Yeah, it's
that old ass door.
the back door, if you will.
Yeah.
All right, let's do something underrated. I'll go first. I'm
Okay.
going to just say Purple Powerade. It's been here my whole life. I never really shout it out. I like Purple Powerade a lot. I feel like Gatorade's like kind of become the main drink, and I just love getting Purple Powerade every once in a while.
You never shout it out. Like, we're not
Nope.
expecting, really. Well, yeah, no, I'm
I
happy-
have.
I'm
Yeah,
happy.
there's people out there that are like, finally, Jeff
Never
shouting
gets
out
his
Purple
shout out.
Powerade.
That's good. That's a good one. It's good.
I'm gonna go popsicles. I feel like you eat a lot of popsicles as a kid. You don't really tear into too many popsicles as an adult. Had a popsicle recently, and I was just like, man, this is such a refreshing, wonderful treat. And maybe just have a little bowl so it can drip into that bowl instead of getting all messy, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, popsicles for me, underrated.
I'm going to go with maybe a bit of a controversial one. I mean, I don't know if it is, but I'm going to say fake plastic plants. Just because it's no maintenance at all. You don't have to worry about because we travel a lot, it'd be hard to keep those. I'm sure you guys deal with that when you're traveling. It's kind of a lot to take care of. And I've never been good at taking care of real plants. I've tried my hardest, done all kinds of research, even like succulents and cacti. I just can't do it. I don't know what it is. I've got the opposite of whatever green thumb is. The
I've got
plague.
a pretty good indoor green thumb.
Yeah,
I
I
have
don't.
plants that have been alive since 2016 that are doing really well.
That's great. And I'm happy,
Yeah.
but it's like a way for me to kind of spruce up my place, make
Yeah.
it look a little nicer without having to like stress out and
For sure.
Maybe it's
constantly feel
because
bad
you-
about myself.
Hate the sun.
It could be it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm passing
You
that
got
on to my-
everything blocked out.
Yeah, that's true. Look at me. I'm like pink. So I haven't seen the sun in years.
All right.
Let's do Jeff's animal fact. So snowy owls, they are diurnal, so they hunt during the day. Just seems like an animal that would hunt at night, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
It kind of makes sense though, right? Because when it's bright outside, they're probably a little more camouflaged as opposed to like being a white blur in the middle of like a darker night. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not thinking quite right about that, but
Yeah.
against
I don't
like
know
the
why
snow
they're-
and stuff.
I don't know why they're diurnal, but also like a lot of the places they live have really extended daylight. You know, like some of the places where you find snowy owls, like it's pretty much always day in the summer. So yeah. And then they tend to migrate down south for winters. So that might be part of it too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cool.
All right, let's do I did listener comments. They mainly just came in as questions. So,
All right.
Tim Feetcat, does Wes experience frisson when the T-Rex emerges from the paddock in Jurassic Park?
Frisian?
Frisson.
What's that?
Frisson. Okay.
It's like chills, tingles, and like down your
Oh, yeah.
spine kind of thing.
It's if I'm ever
Frisson.
testing like a new sound system, if I'm ever trying to like test any kind of media, that's the scene I go to because that scene does something to me that like no other action kind of horror movie scene does. I just think it's such an incredible use of CGI. It's wonderful. And people are going to argue and say, oh, that was practical effects. No, when it steps out of the paddock, it is CGI. There are parts of that sequence that are a practical T-Rex, but that scene is CGI. And they put so much thought and time into it that I still think to this day it's the most realistic a dinosaur has ever looked, for at least what we thought dinosaurs looked like at the time. So Yeah, I love it.
You know what my scene is for like a reference test, like in 4K or whatever, at the end of Requiem for a Dream when they're like
The double dildo.
Yeah. I revisit that one a lot.
You're just
Yeah, it works.
I bet that's a real crowd
Mine's
pleaser.
the start of Fellowship of the Ring. So we're all three kind of similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, very.
Curiously, Katie says, worst named animal is a cow. A cow is a female bovine that has had a baby. It's just a comment. We don't need to.
Okay. I see where they're coming from, I think.
I like the name cow, though.
Me
Yeah.
too.
So
Liliana Lebec. Yeah, go ahead. That's all
No.
it is.
Yeah, this is a
She's
comment.
saying that's why they're called cows, I think.
Right.
yeah.
Liliana Lebecki once says a Russian Yeti attack story could be sweet. Sure, Liliana, if you can send us a
I
good
agree.
Yeti story, we'll do it.
Well, there's Dyatlov Pass, which actually is in my list of stories that we'll probably get to.
Okay.
Because we did-
Sassy,
remember we-
and look at that.
We did Julianne of the Jungle, which was kind of like animal related, but not a full animal story. Dyatlov Pass is kind of like that, where like they found a bunch of dead people and there's a lot of theories of what could have happened. So some people think it's Yetis.
All right, and then a lot of people just checking in on me, asking how I'm doing. My stomach hurts. And I want to lay down.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Let's call it then.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Jeff. Hope you feel better, pal.
Yeah. Thanks for
we
getting up for
sure-
this. That's
we
a
sure
tall
love
order.
ya.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I'm a grinder, you know?
Yeah.
You are.
Oh yeah. That's if
Yeah.
there's one thing we know
God
about
gives
you.
his strongest challenges to his toughest soldiers. That's
Yeah.
what
To
I
his-
always say.
Yeah, hardest grinders, I think is how
Yeah.
the saying goes.
Drink some purple Powerade and eat a Wendy's cheeseburger. That'll help you feel better.
Oh, yeah.
The doctor said I'm like fat, so he got in my head. I'm trying to be healthy right now.
All right. Well, let us know how we can help.
He didn't even say beefy. He just said
Obese.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
you know what the BMI is? You got a big one. Is what he
Yeah.
kind of said. Yeah. It's tough. I knew I was there, right? And I was like,
I was like,
I'm a problem too.
that guy in the Reacher show, he probably is as tall as me and weighs more than me even. So like,
Yeah.
is he obese, you know?
Yeah, but BMI isn't just weight and height.
They didn't take my BMI.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that I'm beefy too, so I should be taking whatever he said to you to my own heart. So I'm
You guys
solidarity.
quit yelling at nurses all the time, dude.
She was bad bedside manners. I don't care
Yes.
for her.
She was making me mad too.
Yeah. And not care for her one bit.
All right.
All right.
Well,
See you guys.
thank you, everyone. Love you.
See ya.
Bye.